When developing data pipelines in Coalesce, it's possible to copy SQL into a SQL override within a view node. This is a common pattern when moving data models to Coalesce from code-first solutions. While Coalesce is able to run this custom SQL as part of your data pipeline, you are unable to capitalize on several advantages that converting this SQL into a pipeline in Coalesce would give you. Coalesce supports a robust framework for transforming your data by breaking down logic into independent SQL blocks or nodes that are combined into a pipeline or DAG. Instead of embedding custom SQL into a Coalesce SQL override, you can take advantage of pipeline transparency, auditability, scalability, and reusability by modernizing your custom SQL in Coalesce. In this demo, we'll walk through what converting a Coalesce pipeline configured as views with SQL overrides looks like as a pipeline in Coalesce, the advantages of processing data in this way, and how to continue to manage and scale your data warehouse as you build robust data pipelines in Coalesce. You can see that we have a pipeline of views that are currently using SQL overrides to leverage pre-existing SQL. Each view is a CTE that has been split out from a larger CTE query. You can view this query in our video on how to convert a CTE into a pipeline. We can convert these views into different nodes that will allow us to take advantage of multiple features in Coalesce. Because we are using SQL in this way and not breaking out the code into a pipeline, we miss several opportunities for better data transformation management, such as poor visibility into the logic of the code, difficulty auditing the output, and poor scalability as pipeline changes will cause developers to have to come into this node as well as understand and evaluate how any changes will impact the rest of the pipeline. In order to solve these challenges, we can rebuild these views using standard Coalesce nodes. We'll begin by loading any data sources referenced by our custom SQL. In the case of our current pipeline, there are 4 raw data sources based on the views present. You can see that Coalesce loads each data source as a separate node, allowing us to have complete control over both the source and any additional nodes built on top of them. Within the location view, we can view the logic within the SQL override. By selecting Derive Mappings, Coalesce will automatically generate the columns within the SQL statement, and we can apply those changes directly to the mapping grid. With our columns added to the mapping grid, we can now point the source of each column to the data source we previously added, in this case, the location source. By using a bulk update, we can assign our source columns to the source node, and the columns will be automatically mapped. Finally, in the Join tab, we will add in the node reference from our source dependency. This consists of a ref function which points to the storage location and table name of our source. And just like that, we have configured the node to point to a source node rather than relying on custom SQL. We can turn the SQL override off and add the upper function to the city column, just like we had in our SQL override. We can also add in the filter from our SQL override in the Join tab using a where statement. The last thing we'll do is reconfigure this node from a view to a stage by selecting the node properties from the right sidebar and selecting the stage node type. We can set the Create As in the Options section to Table. Then, we can create and run the node to ensure our changes work as expected. And with that, we have modernized the node from a custom SQL override to a stage node with all dependencies and metadata built into it. We can follow this same process for the other view nodes in our pipeline. For the customer loyalty stage, we will again derive the mappings so the columns are available in the mapping grid. We will point each column to the respective source column within the customer loyalty source node. While we're in the mapping grid, we can apply our transformations to the city, postal code, and contact info columns. With our mapping and transformations complete, we can move over to the Join tab to add in the ref function to establish the node dependency. In this case, the node will point to the customer loyalty source node. We can add in a filter here as well, and all of our transformation work is now complete. Finally, we will reconfigure this node as a stage node, just like the location node from earlier. We will materialize it as a table in Snowflake and create and run the node to ensure there are no errors. We can continue to follow this exact process to configure the truck and order header nodes as well. Once all of our source nodes are configured, we can move into a more complex modernization in the orders cleaned node. As with the other nodes, we will derive the mappings from our SQL and apply them to the mapping grid. We will assign the source columns from each of the respective nodes within the mapping grid. With the source columns defined, we can apply any transformations and add the window function for our dupe count column. With this complete, we can move into the Join tab and add in any necessary code to join the nodes together to create this node. Coalesce can automatically generate this code, allowing us to only have to complete the column references rather than writing out all of the SQL necessary to join all of these nodes together. Finally, we can add in the filter and qualify statement for this node, which applies the same logic as the SQL in our override. Once this is complete, we can reconfigure the node from a view to a stage and materialize the node as a table within Snowflake. We can create and run the node to ensure there are no errors. With the orders clean node now complete, we can reference this node in our downstream view, which exposes this data to our end users and tools. Since we are keeping the node as a view, we do not need to reconfigure any of the settings and can instead run the view as it is. Within a matter of just a few minutes, we've been able to seamlessly modernize multiple SQL overrides as a pipeline within Coalesce. By building data transformations in this way, we empower users to gain multiple advantages while simultaneously expediting development time of future transformations. Now we are able to audit the result of any node and easily make changes to the source. We gain transparency into the logic instead of having to scan complex SQL files. Additionally, anyone in a workspace is able to reuse any of the nodes that have been created, which means cleaner data pipelines and optimized Snowflake spend. And we can now leverage rich metadata, which includes column-level lineage down to the source, to better manage and scale our data pipelines. By using a pipeline approach to data transformation, you can accomplish the same results as your custom SQL with the added advantages of pipeline transparency, auditability, scalability, and reusability. Start building smarter data pipelines today with Coalesce.